You've seen him in The Rookie. You've seen him in Animorphs, and of course, as Bobby Drake, the Iceman in the X-Men series. Please give a warm welcome to Shawn Ashmore! How's it going? Thank you so much for joining me. Let me turn on your mic real quick.
I can just yell.
Hey guys, thanks for coming. Thanks for sticking around with us today.
I did not know
Shawn, thank you so much for joining us for this. You know, first off, thank you for coming to the RGV. Have you ever been to the Rio Grande Valley before?
Nope, first time. I've been to Texas a bunch, but I've been telling people in line when they ask me, oh, have you been here before? I was like, no. And I knew that I'd signed up for a con in Texas. It was in McAllen, but about 3 days before I left, I was like, I should figure out where I'm going. And I looked at the map, and I scrolled south, and I kept going, and I kept going, and I kept going. I was like, oh, when they say South Texas, they mean South Texas. But it's been great. I loved it. Thank you guys for having us.
Now, I know, like any Rio Grande Valley member, because I'm from here, the first thing they probably ask you is, have you had the food yet? Have you had a chance to have any of the good tacos from the Rio Grande Valley?
Yes, I've had tacos, I've had tamales, and I've had barbecue, and they've all been amazing. I don't want to leave, I want to keep eating.
And one of the funny things is with the Rio Grande Valley is that you can actually get the best breakfast tacos at a gas station here.
Some people don't trust a gas station for food. I'm not prejudiced. I will have good food wherever they're serving it.
I had some this morning.
Weird.
Wait, so is there a specific place, or you mean like every gas station has good breakfast tacos?
Guys, what's the gas station?
Look, Stripes!
Oh, nice.
You gotta go to Stripes. They have, and it's always good when you see, you know, the little Hispanic ladies in the back making the meals.
You know you're in the right place.
You know you're in the right place.
Yes. Okay, good to know.
So, Shawn, thank you so much for joining us again. You know, obviously we're going to talk about everything, and then you guys are going to be able to ask your questions as well. There's going to be a microphone over there where you'll be able to stand and ask your questions. But I'll start off as you guys shake off the nerves, think of those questions, and when you're ready, start lining up, and then we'll be able to start calling on you guys. But I'll start off first. Getting cast as Bobby Drake in X-Men, which many people say helped build that superhero kind of genre. It was your first big movie role. What was it like jumping from television to film, and was it a bit intimidating?
It's very. So I have a twin brother named Aaron, and he and I started acting when we were 9. So by the time I had shot X-Men, I'd actually done quite a few projects, and things like Animorphs and a Disney show called In a Heartbeat, but also a ton of Canadian films. So I'd been around, but I also grew up reading Marvel books and watching the X-Men cartoons. So I was a fan of the X-Men going into it. So not only was I excited about making that transition to a big film, I was also like a fan and excited. And I've told this story a couple times, but I haven't told it a lot. When I first got cast in the first X-Men movie, I was only working for a couple days. And after maybe 1 or 2 days of shooting, one of the producers came up to me and handed me new script pages. And he's like, nothing major, you know, there's a new scene and we changed your character's name. And I was like, oh no, did I screw up? Are they making me a smaller part or whatever? And I looked at the page, and my character's name had originally been John, which was Pilot, John Allardyce. And then all of a sudden I got these new pages, and it was like Bobby. And I was like, oh, did I do something wrong? He's like, no, we just kind of see you as another character. So that's actually how that kind of part came to me, yeah. So I thought I screwed up, but actually it helped me, you know, become Iceman, which was pretty cool. But yeah, it was a big, I was working with Anne Paquin, who at that point had already won an Oscar. You know, I had scenes with Patrick Stewart, who I watched growing up on Next Gen, so it was an exciting set to be on. And then of course there's Hugh Jackman, who at the time was kind of like an unknown actor. It was like his first big part. But I could tell the first day he was on set that there's a scene where he kind of stumbles into the professor's office and kind of looks around, and there's like a bunch of students there. And I was one of the kids who was in the office, and just that scene and watching him work, I was like, oh, this guy's going to be amazing. So it was, yeah, it was a very cool experience to be a part of that, and then to continue to have the part get bigger and bigger, and we kept making movies, and it changed my life.
One of the things that you mentioned in there was, you know, being in that classroom, in that first setting in that movie. What are some of your best memories of working on? Well, I guess we can stick with the first one, but maybe if you have a better scene or memory of the other movies. But what was one of your favorite memories of working on those films?
There's so many, honestly, because I made 4 films over about 15 or 16 years, so there's so many memories, but I still get chills when I watch this scene. But there's a scene in X-Men 2 where Logan comes into the kitchen, he's looking for a beer, and you know, he says, you know, and I'm like, well, this is school, we don't have beer, and I cool off a Dr. Pepper for him. And then there's the Stryker and his goons like storm the mansion, and it's the first time that during that scene Wolverine goes full berserker and like stabs the guard through the fridge. And I remember sitting there watching that, and I was like, oh, this is like legit, you know, Logan going crazy. And it was cool to watch on the day, but when I first saw it on screen, I got chills. I was like, oh, this is that moment. So as a fan, it was amazing, and just to have been there and seen that for the first time, that was a pretty amazing scene. That was cool.
Did you have to do a lot of your own stunts and stuff in the film, and did you get bruised and beat up a lot from doing a lot of that stuff?
A lot of, not honestly, I didn't do that much stunt work. You know, unfortunately, you know, Iceman really didn't get to use his powers until really the third film. I mean, there was moments where it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna freeze the teacup at my house, or I create the ice wall to stop Stryker from, you know, getting Rogue and Pyro and Logan and stuff like that in the second one. But it wasn't until X3 where I fully like ice up and headbutt Pyro, and you know, he should have stayed in school and all that, which was so satisfying. I love that. But there wasn't like a lot of action stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In X3, Kitty Pryde and I come flying off the X-Jet, and we like morph into the ground and pop up. That we actually did that. The original scene though was written that I come off the Blackbird or the X-Jet, I can't remember what it's called in the films, and do the ice slide into Alcatraz. And then I was like, yes, I finally get to do it. And then 3 days later, I got rewrites, and it was like, oh, Kitty Pryde and, you know, Bobby, you know, they're hugging each other, and they disappear into the ground. So I was a little disappointed that I didn't get to do the ice slide, but it was still a pretty cool stunt. But what happened was we had to jump off of like a 4-story building, and they dug a hole in the ground, which looked huge. It was maybe like 5 feet by 5 feet. And they're like, okay, so you're on this ratchet system, and you're gonna jump off the building together, and the ratchet system slowly, you jump, and maybe like 15 feet off the ground, it starts to slow you down, and we disappeared into the hole, and then popped back up. So the effect was basically like we disappeared and popped back up. And I was like, yeah, no problem, we can do this. So we get up there, and this 5 by 5 hole that seemed huge on the ground, when you get 5 stories up, it looks like a postage stamp. And I'm like, wait, we have to fall into that tiny little hole? Like, well, what if we're off a little bit? What if we hit the side or whatever? So that was probably the scariest stunt I had to do for that, but it wasn't very physical. It was kind of like they put ratchets on us, and we just had to trust that the stunt team knew what they were doing. So it was kind of scary, but also kind of fun.
So we actually have a couple of people lined up. So let's, just a reminder, we're going to ask you for your name and your question, and then try to stick with one question so that way we can try to get to as many as possible, all right? So let's go ahead and start over there. What is your name and question? He's right next to you. Go ahead and speak one more time.
Hello. Oh, hi. I'm Aditi, and I wanted to know how does, do you have any interesting stories from Cadet Kelly, if it's Chrissy Colson or Hillary Duff, anything that happened when you're doing a dance?
Yeah, okay, so for those of you who don't know, I did a Hillary Duff, Christy Carlson Romano film called Cadet Kelly back in the Disney days. That movie has really lasted. You know, when I shot it, I was like, oh, it's just a Disney Channel movie, like whatever, it was fun and I enjoyed it, but man, that thing has stuck around, so thank you for everybody watching that. So, yeah, the whole premise of the movie took place at a military academy, and the big culmination scene is like a drill thing with like rifles and marching and stuff like that. So we actually had to learn how to do that. There's about 6 actors that were trained for that. And we trained with a real military school based in Canada. We shot in Toronto. So we spent, I don't know, 3 weeks or a month before we started shooting, like doing the training, learning to march, learning to do like spin the rifles and throw them. And I definitely got some bruises and bonks on my head. And I also got so into it that the rifles that you use are like these white plastic things. They don't look like real guns or rifles, but it still looks like the shape and the weight and everything. But I would walk around Toronto with it and just like march and carry it and spin and stuff like that because I had to get so good. So I think people looked at me kind of funny for a couple of weeks when I was walking around the city and like flinging this rifle around, but it was a lot of fun.
Awesome, thank you very much for your question.
Thank you.
Awesome, and your name and your question, please.
Hi, so my name is Sarai. I'm actually asking for my sister Marissa, who's not here. But my sister and my dad wanted to know, in the show The Rookie, like, what has been the most scene that has impacted you the most from it?
Oh yeah. I think one of my favorite scenes to shoot, I think it was maybe in the 4th season. I think 3rd or 4th season. And it's an episode that takes place in a hospital, and my character Wesley is told that there's like a police detective down in the basement in a garage that like needs to talk to me about something. And I get down there, and then I realize that it's actually like a cartel thing, and there's all this drama going around. But it was a really fun scene where these guys are trying to threaten me, and I get to kind of like turn the tables on them, and they realize that they don't want to mess around with Wesley. Even though he's just a lawyer, he can be kind of intense. So that was probably one of my favorite scenes to shoot, because it was sort of the first time seeing a new side of that character. You know what I mean? He was pretty like happy-go-lucky, and there was kind of a serious side to him that was kind of revealed in that scene. So I like that about that scene.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you. You're amazing.
And I'm glad that she brought up The Rookie, because that's another show that you've been working on. Just recently got picked up again for another season. Let's give him a round of applause for that.
Thank you.
Is it difficult having to learn all the legal jargon for that show?
Yes. So I did a show, an ABC show that only lasted a season, called Conviction, where I played a district attorney. It was with Haley Atwell, you guys probably know from Agent Carter and stuff. But that show was very difficult because that's all I had to do. It was a legal show, so at least The Rookie, it's a cop show and I'm the lawyer that comes in, so I don't have to talk all that much about the legal stuff, but Conviction was a straight up legal show. So I would walk into a boardroom with files, and I have to do all the legal terms, all the for 5 pages. That was hard, but that also kind of strengthened that muscle for me. So a lot of the times I don't understand the legal terms, but I've said it enough, or I can do a little research and Google it and try and figure out what it is. But it is challenging because I'm not a lawyer. I don't really know what any of that means, but I do my best. So.
Well, I was about to ask, if we get into trouble, then with 2 shows under your belt, can we hire you as a lawyer?
No, I would not trust me. I could pretend, but.
What's your name and your question, please?
Hi, my name is Jose, and first of all, I love you as an actor. You're great. I love all your movies.
Thank you.
And I've had these 5 questions I want to ask you, but I'm trying to do what's the best one to ask you?
What's the best one?
But I'm going to go with a more personal question.
Sure.
Right? So, there's a lot of franchise movies in Hollywood films. What's your best franchise movies?
Like the ones that I like the most?
Yeah, just it's a rainy day, you can't go outside.
Oh,
you'll
yeah.
watch this many, many times.
Yes.
Oh, so your personal one.
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, I became an actor because I love film and TV and stories. I grew up reading, I read comic books, I watched I just love, film and television stuff. So this is a good question for me. But genre-wise, if there's a franchise that I would go back to, I would say at least every other year I watch The Lord of the Rings. Yeah. I mean, I think it's pretty much perfect for me. And I know if you're a hardcore Tolkien fan, maybe the adaptations, you miss certain elements, but as far as kind of a masterclass in adapting a really difficult, challenging piece of material, I absolutely love The Lord of the Rings. And then also, and this is kind of fun, I have a 6-year-old son, and he's starting to read the Harry Potter books. And I go back, I love that series. I never read the books, actually. I was a bit older when they came out, so I just kind of enjoyed the films. And it used to be around the holidays, around Christmas, I would always just rewatch with my wife all the Harry Potter films. And now we're reading our son the books, and every time we finish a book, we get to watch a movie with him. So that's something else that I'm looking forward to, kind of building with him. So.
Great to all of you, thank you.
So if you could actually inhabit another world, you personally, if you could go act in another series, another franchise, what would you want to jump into? Star Wars, MCU?
Yeah, let's do MCU. I feel like I'm already had my foot in the door, so let's do that. Let's put that out in the universe. I'd like to do Iceman again in the MCU.
There you go. Hi, what is your name and your question?
I'm Faye, and my question is, on The Rookie, who do you wish you could do more scenes with?
I'm pretty lucky because I get a lot of scenes with Nathan, but I always love working with Nathan. I love everybody in the cast. I know actors usually come up and they're like, oh yeah, everyone's nice, and for the most part that's true, but sometimes there's an actor that you're like, that don't necessarily get along with. But on The Rookie, truly, everybody's amazing, and they're all very talented, and I think all of our characters have great chemistry, which is nice, so no matter what actor I get paired with, I always have a good time. But I just love working with Nathan. I like him really much. Personally, like I like to be around him, and as an acting partner, he's amazing. So, yeah, I like more scenes with Nathan.
Were you able to catch Firefly before you were able to work with Nathan?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've been following Nathan forever. So I was like a fan of his work before I got to work with him. And we're both Canadian, so I feel like we kind of bonded quickly about that. We had a few friends in common and stuff like that. But I don't know if he does quite a few cons. I don't know if he's ever been down here, but I don't know if any of you guys have met him at other cons, but he's like the nicest, most friendly guy. He's kind of exactly who you see on screen. I think there's like a warmth and a humor to him which makes him so appealing on screen, but that's kind of how he is in real life. So it was very easy to kind of meet him. And also, and this is absolutely true, every time there's like a new actor in the hair and makeup chair when we're getting ready, if they're a guest star, if they're a new lead, like whatever, he comes up and introduces himself as if like, yeah. And I commented, like, just somebody's there for the day, and he just, hey, I'm Nathan, thanks for being on the show. And I commented on that. I was like, man, it's so cool that you kind of break the ice with everybody because you're the star of the show, and that's not always the case. And I believe he said that someone did that for him. One of his first jobs. He was really nervous and he was coming in, and one of the lead actors just like kind of broke the ice and just made a quick introduction, and he said all the stress and nerves kind of went away. And so he was like, I can create that environment for other actors, and so it's cool. And you can see everyone just kind of relax a little bit when, the star of the show is like, hey guys, what's up? Thank you for being here. I'm Nathan, and then we're just there to work and do our job. So that's kind of a nice thing that he does, and I think it's very cool.
Awesome. I love that. I love to hear what guys say. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. What is your name and your question?
My name's Xavier. So my question is, with The Rookie just being renewed for the 7th season, what's a story you'd like to explore with Wesley? What else is there for Wesley going forward?
That's a great question. So Wesley and Angela, have like a healthy family life now. I would like to see, honestly, I think that I would like to see the DA's office pulled into the cases a little more often. Like, I like the fact that it's definitely a police show, a cop show, so I know that will always be the focus, but I think it's kind of interesting to have a character like me who is a part of the DA that you can lean into, show a different side of like law enforcement and the legal system. So I think it'd be kind of nice to continue and maybe to accentuate, some of the goings on at the DA's office and as it pertains to some of the cases we're working. So I wouldn't mind that, just kind of seeing a little more of his professional life. Because I feel like we see a lot of his personal life with Angela, and I think that's a really nice part of their story. But yeah, maybe it'd be cool to see a little more of the legal work that he does.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your question. Oh, we have someone a bit smaller there. Hello, what is your name and your question?
My name is Ray, and I was going to ask, what inspired you to start acting?
So, this actually just hit me. It's kind of an interesting thing because Corey Feldman's here. So when I was a kid, I loved, I said earlier, like film and television. And one of the first movies I watched where I saw young actors, it wasn't like a kid's work, it wasn't a kid's show, but was Stand By Me. And it was like younger actors, but they were taken seriously, and it was like a mature story. And I think that kind of inspired me to be like, oh, this is cool. This is not just kids doing kiddie stuff, but young actors being taken seriously and doing like some dramatic work. So things like that when I was younger really kind of inspired me. And then my brother and I were very into music, so we started like singing in a choir, and then we did community theater, and then we took piano lessons, and so we kind of started with music, which I enjoyed. But once we auditioned for a commercial, and Aaron got the job. We're twins, and he had a fever on the day, so my mom brought us both. and was like, okay, this one got the job, but he's very sick, but his twin brother, and he's fine, so they gave me the job. So I credit Aaron, my twin brother, for starting my career. But yeah, so that's kind of how it started. And then it just was fun. Like, I didn't think, like, oh, I'm going to make a career out of this. It was just sort of like an extracurricular activity that I enjoyed doing. And the thing that I think I really fell in love with was not necessarily, like, the art at first, but I liked, even at a young age, like, we started, I think it was 9 years old when we did the first one, I was treated like an adult. I was taken seriously. I was expected to be on time, to work a long day, to take direction, you know, all these things. And I think we take for granted a lot. The children can kind of do more and can be more responsible and maybe need a little more autonomy than we give them credit for. And that was certainly the case for me. Like, I loved to goof off and have fun and do all that, but I also really thrived when adults were treating me like an equal. You know, so that was really, really enjoyable for me. You know, they weren't talking down to me. They weren't trying to teach me something. They expected me to bring my talent and my experience to this job. So I really genuinely love that.
Thank you for your question. And I like that you brought up your twin brother. Was he also a comic book fan, and did he give you any crap for booking the X-Men role?
Yeah. Aaron and I both read comics. I still have a collection. People came into my line today that had like this red foil Venom cover from like the 90s, and I was like, I have that. And I saw someone else with like Spawn number 1. I was like, I have that. The comic books actually that Aaron and I started reading, the ones that I got really hooked, were the old like black and white Eastman and Laird Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like the original books. And those ones I absolutely loved, and I still have a bunch of those. But that was my introduction to comics. It wasn't Marvel or DC. It was kind of like, I think it was Image, I guess, that did those original books, and I love them. He didn't give me crap. No, I do think we both auditioned for the role.
Really?
Yeah. It was like a big crazy casting call in Toronto. That's where we were from, and they were shooting the movie in Toronto, so they just were casting everybody. And again, it wasn't that first role really wasn't that big. I don't think it only worked like 5 or 6 days. I feel like it was an impactful thing. Like people were like, oh, you're Bobby in the first X-Men movie. I was like, yeah, but like I was only there a couple days, really.
Yeah.
But I think we both auditioned, and I got a call back, and then I went for a bunch of auditions, and Aaron didn't. And people were like, oh, that must be so weird. Like, he's your twin brother. But Aaron has worked as much or more than me now. Mm-hmm. And I think that we, as much as we're twins and we have a lot of similarities, I think the way that we approach characters and approach acting is different. And I don't know how to put my finger on it, be too specific, but there are definitely roles that he's played where I'm like, I couldn't do that. Like, he played this character Jinx in Warehouse 13, where he was great in that. And I watched him in that, and I was like, I couldn't do that. Like, there was something about the way that he played that character that he understood that I probably couldn't do anywhere near as well as him. So I think it might be similar in that. Like, there was something about that character that I understood that he just didn't. Mm-hmm. And, you know, sometimes that's just the way it goes.
Awesome. All right, hi, can I have your name and your question, please?
Hello, hi, Shawn. My name's Adrian, and
hi.
I wanted to ask you, who's your favorite co-star that you've worked with?
Of all time?
All time. Well, I don't want you to upset anyone.
I don't think anybody's gonna be upset. But honestly, that's such a hard question because I don't know. That's so hard. Look, I'll say this. Well, one of my favorite acting experiences, and just the entire experience, I did a show called The Following with Kevin Bacon, and I thoroughly enjoyed that experience. I thought Kevin, again, I don't know if he was my favorite co-star. Like, it's hard to kind of quantify like what that means, but that whole experience, I love the show. I love showing up to work every day and working with an actor like Kevin. And I've worked with a lot of incredible, talented, professional, amazing people. But I loved his attitude. I loved how he carried himself. He was so professional, and he was just a nice guy. So let me put it this way: he was one of my favorite actors that I got to spend a lot of time with. Like, just that whole experience on the show, I really enjoyed, and coming into work day after day with him was a joy.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your question. Actually, let's go with this one next. Hi, can I have your name and your question, please?
My name is Andrew. What is your favorite moment of being Iceman? Man.
Oh, that's easy. In Days of Futures Past, where I jump through Blink's portal and then I do the ice slide and go fight the Sentinels was by far my favorite. I waited 4 movies to do the ice slide, so I was like, yes, finally! Then I get killed right away. But then I come back, and then I get killed again. Then I come back. So yeah, that was it. The ice slide, for sure, 100%.
Thank you very much for your question.
Thanks, man.
You know, and actually speaking of that, you know, in the Rogue edit, Iceman sacrifices himself for Rogue. You know, obviously he had, you know, the movie he had done a bunch of times, but was it tough to film any of them, or did you have fun? Did you have a favorite one?
Favorite death, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, the one where I'm fully iced up and the Sentinel grabs my head and breaks it off and then crushes it on the ground. I was kind of devastated when I read that, because, you know, after The Last Stand, Fox went on and did X-Men First Class, and they were focusing on the kind of the younger version. So I was kind of like, I guess that's the end of our tenure. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, obviously, Hugh was still doing like the Wolverine films and stuff like that, and then Patrick or Ian would pop up in movies like that. But I was kind of like, oh, I guess that's it. We got 3 movies. That was pretty awesome. So when I randomly got the call, like 8 years after the last time I played the part, or 6 years, it was definitely a big chunk of time. I was beyond excited. I was like, yes, I get to play this character again. And then I read the script, and within the first 5 pages, as far as I knew, I was dead. And I was like, oh my God. But luckily I kept reading, and I was like, okay, I'm still in it. But yeah, I think that first one, because it was very impactful. Like when I read it, I was devastated. I was like, oh my God, like I finally got to do the Omega level, like, Iceman thing, and then this freaking Sentinel just like kills me right away. Like, what's going on? But yeah, I enjoyed that. It was pretty cool.
Hi, can I have your name and your question, please?
Hi, my name is Juan.
Hey, Juan.
How was it like to play a villain in Smallville as Eric Summers?
Oh yeah. So I before my brother, again, Aaron will always circle back around. Aaron played Jimmy Olsen on Smallville for like 4 or 5 seasons. After I played a character on the show. And he and I are super confused. I played a character called Eric Summers in I think it was the 1st and 2nd season, or maybe the 1st and the 3rd season, I can't remember now. And my character gets Clark's powers and basically becomes like an evil Superman for an episode. So it was very fun. I mean, I got to be the bad guy, I got to be evil Superman for, you know, a few weeks on set, which was super cool. But the thing that Aaron and I will never figure out is, a few years later, he calls me and he's like, they want me to audition for Jimmy Olsen on Smallville. He's like, I'm not gonna do it. I mean, you've already been on the show. It's like a waste of time. And I was like, yeah, they're not gonna cast you. Like, just forget about it. He calls me like 2 weeks later and he's like, remember when I said I wasn't gonna make that tape? Well, I made it and I sent it in. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And he's like, I got the part. I was like, what? I still don't understand. But nobody seemed to mind. And then he went on and played Jimmy Olsen for seasons, multiple seasons, and it was very good. But yeah, I still don't understand how I did the show first and then he did it and no one seemed to notice, but that's okay.
Thank you for your question.
What powers did you like more, Superman's or Iceman's?
Well, if I could have powers in real life, I'd want probably Superman's powers. They're just a little more diverse. You know, he can fly, super strength, laser, all that. Yeah, I think they're, in general, they'd be a little more useful. But if I got stuck with Iceman's powers, I wouldn't be too upset about it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, can we have your name and your question, please?
Hello, how's it going, Shawn?
Yeah, good, how are you?
Before I answer my question, I thought you came out on the episode, Are You Afraid of the Dark? But turns out it was your brother.
Yeah, that was Aaron.
Yeah.
He's always around, isn't he?
Yeah. My question is, have you ever been approached or asked to do a spin-off with your character, Iceman? And if so, you know, what was yours?
I've never been asked. I would say yes. Immediately, let's start shooting. Yeah, at this con in particular, I've had a lot of people be like, so, Deadpool? Yeah? And I'm like, no, I'm not. I would go back to playing Bobby again in a second, if I ever got asked. Again, I did 4 movies, I kind of grew up playing that character. I feel a certain amount of ownership and pride that I've got to play that character and kind of represent that character that I really loved growing up. That being said, you know, I'm almost 45. I know that Marvel has it, and we'll probably reboot and recast eventually. And as a fan, I'm excited to see that. Because growing up reading the books and stuff, the movies have never been as exciting as maybe they would have been if I was not in them, because I don't get to watch them as an audience member, as a fan. I'm kind of watching them like knowing what's going to happen and being in them. Obviously, it's super cool to be that, but when that transition happens, or if that transition happens, I'll still be the first person in the theater going to see it because, you know, I'm excited to see what happens next.
Awesome. May I shake your hand?
Yeah, sure.
Give a round of applause, everyone. Hello, can we have your name and your question, please?
Hi, my name is Amber, and I wanted to ask, do you see yourself transitioning out of action and drama and going into like more horror or rom-com type of genres?
I have done so much horror, so I've done that transition. I have a list, and the only reason I really know how much horror I've done is because I always die in them. My mom's always like, oh my god, another one? So yeah, again, aside from, I love most genre stuff, but I'm a big horror fan. Like I love horror films. Rosemary's Baby, The Shining, those are some of my favorites of all time, and kind of horror films. So I've done a lot of that, and I hopefully will continue to. Rom-coms, I don't know, like, I definitely would like to try them. Like, I'm not a huge fan of romantic comedies. I don't dislike them, but that's just not something I'm like, you know, when the next rom-com comes out, I don't rush to the theater. Like, when Dune comes out, I'm gonna go see it. But when the new, like, I don't know, Kate Hudson movie comes out, I'm not necessarily rushing out to see it. That being said, like, what I love about, especially doing films, is like, you get to try new things, play different characters and all that. So I certainly wouldn't say no if that opportunity arose itself. And nothing against Kate Hudson, by the way. I'm just using her as an example. She makes great rom-coms.
Awesome, thank you very much for your... Everyone's so polite with their claps, I like it.
It's like a golf match.
Hi, can you give your name and your question, please?
I'm Faith, and my question is, as a fan, like, I don't know if you're a fan of The Rookie, but you probably are, who is your favorite couple in that show?
Lopez, come on.
Other than that.
Another one, can't be your own.
Well, Chenford, you know, that's like a great romance that kind of like has taken a long time to build up, and I still think there's, you know, a bumpy road ahead of them, but let's hope they can get back together.
Thank you for your question. While he's adjusting the mic for the next one, I have a question for you. I'm surprised no one's brought it up yet, but The Boys, you were in The Boys.
Yeah.
Not for a ton of episodes, but you know, your character had a pretty big impact on it. What was it like working on that show? Obviously an established show because you came on in season 2. What was it like, you know, getting into that role and then knowing the untimely death of your character?
Yeah. Spoiler alert, Lamplighter dies.
Sorry, 4 seasons in.
Yeah. But by the way, I'm a big proponent of, if it's aired, you can spoil it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I got in a lot of trouble the other day because there was a Rookie spoiler, and I got major, first of all, it was like the biggest Instagram post I've ever done, but also I got so many people that were like upset at me, and I was like, it's aired, it's all over the internet, like I didn't spoil it anyway. So my character Lamplighter dies in The Boys, and I knew that signing up. I was a huge fan of the first season. I had never read the books prior to watching the show, so I had no idea what to expect. I just like saw this ad, and I was like, Amazon, okay, The Boys. And after the first episode, I was hooked. I was like, this is exact. I was kind of getting a little bit of superhero fatigue, like Marvel-wise and stuff like that. I love all that stuff, but I was like, okay, we're living in that world. I kind of know what to expect, and The Boys kind of like subverted all the normal superhero genre stuff. So I love that. I thought that was a really unique and cool take on it. And everyone that had read the books already knew that, but I did not. So when I got the opportunity to play Lamplighter, I was particularly excited because kind of throughout the first season, they talk about Lamplighter a lot, you know? Yeah. He'd been kicked out of the 7, and he'd done something, committed a crime, like hurt somebody, but it was kind of all very vague, but there's a lot of emotion behind that character. So a lot of that work was kind of already done for me when I showed up, because the characters knew each other, and Frenchie was super pissed about this character. So it was amazing. And I also was very aware that they were like, we want Iceman to play Pyro on our show. And I was like, oh, that's like exactly what they would do. Of course they would want to get Iceman to play the fire guy on our show. And I kind of got a message after a couple weeks of shooting that Eric Kripke, the creator, showrunner, was like, basically I got a nice note being like, hey, you're absolutely killing it, and in hindsight, we can't change it because it's already written and the story's established, but we shouldn't have killed you because it would have been really fun to see where this character would have gone with the boys. Like there's a lot more to mine from it. That being said, it's a very impactful character. He's like in and out, but causes a lot of ripples to the story, which was kind of cool.
Thank you very much for that one. All right, we got the mic ready. Hello, what is your name and your question?
My name is Matthew.
It's okay.
My question is, does your son think that you're cool being Iceman?
Does my son think I'm cool being Iceman? So he hasn't seen it yet. He knows that I'm Iceman, and I have, in my office, I have like a little collection of memorabilia from stuff I've been in. So I've collected over the years. I used to not think it was cool, and back when the movies came out, they're like, hey, do you want us to send you a bunch of the action figures? I was like, nah, don't worry about it. Now, I'm like, oh, so then I hunted online and found all the action figures, because it's like, I really do want this stuff. They're cool memories. So he's seen all the action figures, and there's a video game that we did, so he's seen the cover for that. But he hasn't actually watched the movies yet. I think he's a little too young, but I think he thinks the idea of it is really cool. You know, and every once in a while he's like, can you really make ice? And I'm like, no, that's just make believe. But I think when he gets to check them out, I think he'll really like the movies.
Thank you for your question.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's a great question. Yeah.
Give him a round of applause.
Iceman just meant SpongeBob.
Hi, what is your name and your question, please?
Hi, I'm Carolina.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I forgot to tell him no, Justin. Sorry.
It's okay. So whenever I think of you, apart from Bobby and Cadet Kelly, I always think of the movie Frozen.
Oh, yeah.
And that movie caused me so much anxiety watching it the whole time. Can
Good.
you share?
Good.
Could you share any stories from making that movie?
Yeah, I have a story that I made a small horror film called Frozen, which is about these three skiers that sneak onto a chairlift. Basically, it was based on a real story that happened. The writer-director, Adam Green, is a great guy, really talented guy, but he grew up on the East Coast in like Maine, Boston kind of area, where the ski lifts were only open on the weekends. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't big enough, so they would open on Friday and close on Sunday. And there was a story about these people that snuck on to the lab. They didn't pay. They snuck on for one more run on Sunday night, and they got stranded up on the ski lift. So that's what this movie is. So it basically becomes a play. It's like three characters get stranded 50, 70 feet high on a ski lift for a week and have to figure out how they're going to survive. So that's the concept of the movie. So when we were auditioning for the movie, they were like, hey, we're not shooting this on green screen. You know, so if you're not okay with heights, if you're not okay with cold temperatures, because we're going to shoot it, and we shot it in Utah on the side of a mountain, 70 feet up in the air. They're like, you shouldn't even read for this, because we're going to shoot it practically. And I was like, I'm Canadian, I can handle that, no big deal. And I said, so hold on, like, what about like using the restroom? And they're like, oh, we're gonna have a scissor lift, so we can like bring you up and down if you need to use the restroom or whatever. So the first day of shooting comes around, and we'd gotten hit by like a blizzard the week before. And you know, as we're getting ready, they're kind of like, so, you know, maybe don't have too much to drink before you get on there. And I was like, well, why? And they're like, well, there's so much snow that it's not safe to use the scissor lift. So basically, as soon as you get up to that, you'll be there until lunchtime. And then after lunchtime, you'll be there. And, you know, we shoot 15-hour days. So basically, we couldn't eat or drink anything because we couldn't use the bathroom for like a month while we were shooting. So we had to hold it until lunch or hold it until after work. So that was probably the biggest challenge in that movie. And it was freezing cold. It was like so cold. But yeah, we had to hold it. We had to hold it.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
That was a great movie. Hi, can we have your name and your question, please?
My name is Jesse. My question is to you is about another independent movie that you did, which we spoke earlier, Mariachi Gringo.
Oh, yeah.
Favorite scene in that movie is at the very end when you're up on that stage and, you know, you do the playing and the singing. How much of that movie did you actually play and sing?
Okay, so I did a movie called Mariachi Gringo, which actually several people here have brought up, and that's kind of like like an obscure independent film that I did around 2012, and the title kind of explains the movie. I basically play an American guy that falls in love with mariachi music and moves down to Guadalajara to kind of pursue his passion. And when I first was told about it, I was like, I don't know, I'm not really a singer. I don't know anything about mariachi music. I don't speak Spanish. I grew up in Canada, so je parle français, mais je parle pas espagnol. So I was like, I don't know anything about the culture, the music, the language, but I read the script and I absolutely loved it. And it was American filmmakers that were making it, and their experience, they worked on Titanic, which was shot in Mexico. And they're from New York City, but they spent years down in Mexico and fell in love with the music and the culture and the people and the food. And so this was kind of their homage to the culture that they fell in love with. So they're like, we're gonna do a fish out of water story, like send an American, and it was almost honestly like a reverse immigration story too, right? It's like an American going down to Mexico and finding his way in a culture that is new to him. And I love that idea, I love that concept. And then I started to research the music, and I was like, oh, this is amazing music. Like there's such a huge passion and culture for it. So I trained with mariachi musicians in Los Angeles and down in Mexico, and so I sang and played everything that I do in the film. And I was so nervous. It was probably the hardest movie I ever shot because I was just afraid to look foolish, you know? But I just committed as much as I could, and yeah, we played and sang everything. A lot of it, not all of it, we recorded in a studio so we could do playback on the day. But there were 2 or 3 songs that I sang live on set, and so the performance you see in the film is me doing it live on the stage.
You did a great job.
Thanks, man. Thank you, appreciate it.
And just so you guys know, Jubilee will be our last question. You're Jubilee, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you'll be our last question. Anyway, all right. Hi, what's your name and your question,
Hello,
please?
my name's Joe. I think I know the answer to this question, but I just have to know, what's your favorite video game and why?
Oh, my favorite video game. Oh, that's so hard. I think the game that I've played and followed the most is probably StarCraft 2. I played a ton of that, and I still watch people play. I suck at it, but I like to watch the professionals play. But I play tons of games. I play a lot of Overwatch. I've done a few games that I really like. I was in a game called Quantum Break that I absolutely love. Remedy Entertainment, who made Quantum Break, and they just made a game, Alan Wake 2, that was nominated for Game of the Year, that I happen to be in as well, so you guys should try that out. I think I'm actually wearing an Alan Wake shirt. So right now, those are the games. I'm actually playing Alan Wake 2, and I play Overwatch, but I've played so many games over the years. My son is 6, like I said, and he's got a Switch. So we're playing Mario Wonder, we play Minecraft, we play all that stuff. So it's really hard for me to name of all time, but I still think maybe I'd go back to GoldenEye, to be honest, in the N64. Like that, I've spent many a week playing that game. So yeah, I kind of like them all.
Thank you very much for your question. So if you play Overwatch, now you know if someone's taking you down.
Dude, if there's a Zenyatta player that's destroying you, that's me.
Hello, Jubilee. What is your name and your question, please?
Hi, my name is Cindy, and my question is, if you had the choice to play any other X-Men character, which one would you have chosen?
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
It doesn't. And just to clarify, we don't want to kick anyone off their jobs. But if you had to, in the world of that X-Men universe, what would you have loved to play?
So there's so many cool characters, but this is a character I would say because this was one of my favorite characters in the books, and probably the mutant ability that I would want. I always loved Nightcrawler. Again, from reading the books, I had an affinity to that character. I loved his ability, and yeah, I don't think I could play that character well. So I'm not trying to say, oh, put me up for Nightcrawler, but that was one of my favorite mutants, and I always love seeing people portray that character. I just think it's an interesting character.
I can see you as Gambit.
All right, Gambit. All right, who's got to take the cards? Let's go.
You know, I'm surprised no one asked any questions about Animorph. You know, maybe I'm the only one who watched. Did you guys watch Animorph? Yeah, there's a couple of people. Okay, all right. So maybe that might have been a little too old. Sorry. All right.
Yeah, we're just old.
That's a little old. But my last question is, you know,
what would be your perfect day as a teleporter? Like you don't have any
okay,
limits.
here's a perfect example of why I want to do teleportation. I was supposed to fly home tonight. My flight's canceled. I can't get home. I'm sick of airports. I just go Banff and like be at home.
Well, we would love for you to have any powers because we know we love watching on screen. Again, guys, you can check him out at his booth. He's going to be doing the autographs there and, of course, the photo ops. Ladies and gentlemen, again, give it up for Shawn Ashmore.
Thank you guys so much for hanging out.